I bought a dream car, okay? This is a 2007 Aston Martin Vantage with a 6-speed manual, okay? This is by far the most thrilling, exciting, luxurious, fairly reliable ride you can buy under $50,000, okay? Now, right now, they're under $50,000. They're creeping up. And let me tell you why this is the best car for 50 and under. First of all, let's talk about its engine. This engine is a 4.3 V8 naturally aspirated, featuring 32 valves, chain-driven, has a dry sump, which a great thing about a dry sump, it allows you to hold more oil, and also have no oil pan, so that you could drop the engine lower for a lower center of gravity. And there also, when you're going around these turns, you know, you're not sloshing oil around like a normal without a dry sump. So the dry sump's awesome. And listen to that. Sounds so good. All right, so at 5,000 RPM, you get your maximum torque of about 300 foot-pounds of torque. 7,000 is where you get your peak horsepower at 380 horsepower. Okay, not terribly fast and powerful compared to new Mustangs and Camaros. Hey, but if you wanted those cars, go get that. If that's all about burning tires, go get those cars. This car is insane. Now, this V8 was built in Cologne, Germany, hand-built, along with its V12s in the Aston Martin factory over there, which I believe at the time was owned by Ford. So hand-built, high-revving V8, all naturally aspirated, so pure. Wow. Okay, so that's the engine. Now, the manual, which if you're buying this car under 50K, you gotta have the manual, okay? Because the driving experience is all about the manual. This manual was built by Graziano. 6-speed manual. Graziano supplied some of the best cars of the world, some of the legends, the Enzo, 360, 430, 612, McLaren, 650S, I believe, supplier of Aston Martins, and you know, the gears are very evenly spaced, which is awesome, and it reminds me of my previous 355. You know, every gear was evenly spaced, and you just wanted to wind out every one of them because you want to hear the glorious notes of this engine. Mesmerizing is the tone of this car. Listen to this. 5,000 RPM, approaching 6. Didn't even get to 7,000. Okay? I don't want a ticket, and I don't want to drive too much like an asshole over here. This is the glorious Los Angeles Crest. I am so blessed to have this at my disposal. It is one of the greatest roads of all time in Southern California. Beautiful weather. I'm shooting this right now in January, and it's just warm and perfect. You should be jealous, those guys experiencing the rain in the UK while they're building these bad boys. Anyways, let's go back to the tone. My background comes from building tube guitar amplifiers. We are all about tone, okay? We constantly pay attention to all the little things that create the greatest guitar tone. So, of course, tone is everything for me. Listen to that. Wow, what a freaking sports car, okay? So the tone is awesome because it's got that low rumble, like a naturally aspirated American V8. But then, these mids. Listen to these mids. Okay, and it doesn't scream in the high end. I didn't get this 7,000. It doesn't scream like my 355. Those 5 valves per cylinder and that little 3.5 V8 is a high revving little sewing machine, you know, not Japanese sewing machine, but just Formula One sewing machine. You know, that's the 355. You want that high scream at the end, that car is unbeatable. However, these low mids of the Aston Martin, for me, for whatever reason, I love it more. It's just so meaty, you know? Maybe it's because, you know, when you're chunking away in guitar, it's all about the mids. You know, everybody's, you know, it's all about that mids to cut through the mix. So, you got this glorious sounding, chain driven for lower maintenance V8. 380 horsepower is definitely enough to have fun. I'm going uphill and I'm throwing this car around the turns. And let's talk about throwing this car around the turns. The body, the aluminum bonded chassis of this Aston Martin is so stiff. The car is such a flat tracker. I mean, I'm going around these turns. The car, there's zero body roll, okay? Now, I've watched some other videos of like comparing the 911 with the Aston, because the 911, I guess at the time, was its main competition. And, you know, those videos of, oh, you know, there's a little more body roll in the Aston Martin than the Porsche. There's a little, handles goes a little faster around the track. It's like, shut up. What are you talking about, okay? This car is flat as hell. And you know one of the reasons it's flat? The suspension is dialed in for the racetrack, yet it's not jittery. And I have a feeling part of that has to do with the aluminum bonded chassis absorbing those little bumps. Doesn't that sound glorious? Isn't that ridiculous? Oh my God. All right, so we have a killer engine, an amazing 6-speed manual, and then the sound, this exhaust. Now, when I bought this car, I did a lot of research. I wanted to ensure I bought it from a car enthusiast who understands what maintenance is, who understands how to do an oil change, who understands what to look for, what wears out. And I found the guy. I'm in Southern California, he was in Northern California, and clearly he was a car guy, because when I called him, he immediately talked about changing the oil, talking about motor oil, talking about the sound, and of course he brought up Fuse 22. Now, anybody that brings up a fuse in the early part of the conversation is clearly a car guy. He said when you remove Fuse 22, you remove this control of this valve that opens up in the exhaust, which would normally open up after 4,000 RPM for that glorious sound. Removing Fuse 22, it's just open the entire time. Of course I want it open the entire time. As soon as I start the car, I want to know, oh yeah, you know what you're getting into. Let's talk about the interior, okay? Leather surrounding every inch of the interior, and then on top you have Alcantara. Oh my God. So here we are, hand-built engine in Germany, naturally aspirated V8. So not as complicated of plumbing like turbos. I love turbo cars, but there's a lot of parts. You're adding a lot of parts and a lot of complications, potential complications in a turbo engine, okay? Naturally aspirated is more pure. 6-speed manual doesn't get more pure than that, because it can last 200,000 miles if you know how to shift, if you know how to line up your synchros, if you know how not to slip the clutch. You know, you can drive fast without being abusive. Body designed by Henrik Fisker, which designed the Z8, the DB9, this car, the Karma Fisker, of course. The guy is insane. His designs are some of the most beautiful, and what's important to him, timeless designs of all time. So you got a body designed by Henrik Fisker, engine hand-built in Germany, 6-speed manual made by the Italians, leather that supplies Rolls-Royces and Ferrari. Oh my God, 4-piston calipers with slotted rotors, aluminum bonded chassis. What am I talking about? I'm talking about one of the most luxurious, super exotic GT Grand Touring cars of all time, right? Yes, I am. Let's talk about driving a manual car for a second, okay? To me, if you're a car enthusiast, the real cars are manual, and let me tell you why. Nothing is more engaging than shifting. These little paddles, ding, 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 ding. Cool. Wow, you got 0.03 seconds faster for the racetrack. Good for you on the racetrack. However, engagement? No. When you're in tune with the car and you're driving, especially around the canyons, you need to concentrate when to shift. You need to set up to be in the right gear before that turn. So you're in the right gear to have a maximum acceleration getting out of the turn. It also helps slow down the car along with the brakes. It's all about always being in the right gear, and it's about being in the right gear without upsetting the balance of the car, okay? It's all about late braking, not too late braking, not too early of braking, being in the right gear, then taking the line of the track and you're already in the right gear to get out of it, okay? That takes concentration. That is engaging. Then you're lining up the synchros, so you need to drive with heel and toe. What is heel and toe? Car enthusiasts know what heel and toe is. Fake car enthusiasts or want to get into manual shifting, heel and toe is left foot on the clutch, and you're braking, and at the same time you're braking, you're blipping the throttle. You're blipping the throttle and shifting. You're blipping the throttle to line the synchros in the transmission. If you don't know what that is, watch another video. Lining up the synchros so that the shift is smoother and quicker so you're not grinding gears, okay? Heel and toe, the most engaging experience, okay? There is no time to think about work. Look at this. Sorry, I had to take a break from talking. Oh, I just hit 6,300 RPM. I didn't hit 7,000, guys. I'm trying to. You got to hear it. All right. Engagement. So a manual, there's nothing like a manual for full engagement, okay? And that's why these cars, the manual versions, are all appreciating. You know, manual Ferraris, again, I had a 355 gated shifter, 6-speed manual. I sold it on a high because those are the cars you want. Those are the collectibles. Those are lower maintenance. Those are the most engaging, and those are true car enthusiast cars. You know, have you ever tried to shop for a Ferrari 430 or just look at prices? The automatics, or the F1 transmissions, I should say, not fair to call it automatics because it is double clutch. It's just doing it for you with the pedals. You know, those are like, those are in between, you know, they're 140,000, 120 or whatever. The manuals are 200,000 and up, okay? The manual 575s, forget it, they're gone. They're out of control already. They're over 200,000. Have you seen a manual 599? There's only like 28. Those are 800,000, which obviously is going to hit a mil to 1.2 anytime. 612 manuals are appreciating radically. Okay, Aston Martin manuals are appreciating. In fact, they're so exciting that Aston Martin's like, you know what? Let's come out with some new manuals, 7 speeds. The AMR is such a beast. Oh my God. Now, can you imagine having this car with a V12? Would remind me of a 550 Maranello. Now, let me tell you, let me compare this car to a Ferrari 550 Maranello. Very similar feeling in terms of your seating position and where the shifter is. It just feels right. It just feels like you're confident, yet comfortable. You're about to go fast. You're in control. And you feel like the CEO. You do not feel like the junior. You know, the 355 compared to the 550, 355 felt like, oh yeah, the fun young guy car. Okay, the 550 was, I'm your boss, bitch. Got it? You're a peasant. I definitely feel like a boss in this car. I'm sorry. The confidence is incredible. Now, maybe this car comes across slightly pompous compared to the Ferrari. Ferrari's just all sex. This car is sexy too. I don't know. Maybe it must be pompous because for some reason, BMW 3 Series guys all around me freak out and start driving aggressively and trying to race me. They just lose their minds, and I can't figure out why. Is it because they know they have tiny little engines? I don't know, but it freaks people out. I don't remember freaking people out when I was driving the 550. It was more like, you have permission, sir. You definitely have the greatest car. Can't figure it out yet. But this does remind me of the 550 Maranello. The 550 had way more torque and power. And, much more torque, especially in the lower revs. That was a V12. So I would imagine the V12 version of this car is probably really the British version of a 550, And both those cars, the manual V12s of these are already out of control. They're already 100,000 and up. And I can only see it going up more. Why would you not want that car? Again, it's all about engagement. If you just cared about 0 to 60 times, and this car is not that bad, it's about 4.9 seconds. That's okay. Again, compared to a new Camaro, but that's okay. That's fun enough, okay? Again, if all you cared about was 0 to 60 times and paddle shifting around those turns and getting best track time or, whatever, fine, go get your freaking paddle shifters, And I'm going to tell you, the newer exotics, which I've driven many of, McLarens and Ferraris and 488s, they're so out of control. They're so ungodly fast that there are no roads. You can use that. You can use it on a racetrack, sure, and beat everything on the, be the fastest guy on there, but it's way past engagement, man. That is just a different thing. That is more like, look, I got the fastest car, I can't do anything about it. By the time when you go 0 to 100 in a second, you're already going to slam on your brakes. There are no roads for those. That is not as thrilling, believe me, okay? I thought a Huracan is incredible, which it is, and reliable. Unbelievable sound, the V10. But it is more exciting driving this Aston Martin. And same with the 355 manual. Much more engaging, much more fun. That's what you want. Let's talk about the interior again for a minute. The gauges are so gorgeous. Again, penciled by Henrik Fisker. You could tell they're inspired by beautiful watches. In fact, clearly, Henrik was a watch guy because he was an ambassador. He could still be an ambassador for Maurice Lacroix. Clearly a watch guy. And the simplicity of the interior and the way it flows up, beautiful flow. Then he separates the passenger from the driver with it, with the center console. And a lot of beautiful symmetry. All the leather just flows so well with each other. I adore it. I adore it. It's timeless. It's timeless. Not too busy, not too high tech. Navigation is outdated. Luckily, this thing still connects to Bluetooth. I love how it does because it's a woman's voice in a British accent. And I swear to God, every time I hear it, I think, wow, Elizabeth Hurley is talking right to me.
Maximum number of phones paired. Please delete unused phones.
Okay, sexy car, sexy voice. I love the old school Bluetooth pairing up with that voice. Let me tell you another thing. This car is so freaking exhilarating and hard to contain my excitement that I had to create a metal song using backing tracks from metal band Gojira and yet sing about the Aston Martin. Okay, can I just give you a little listen? Because it's real. You think I'm crazy, but this was real. Take a listen.
Driving Aston Martin, handmade in England where there's no sun. Wanna be a killer just like James Bond. He's a beast underneath the gentleman, sliding through the doors like a llamas, drifting like you are rolling on the road, like a bullet from a desert eagle gun. Nothing can stop me. I need to feel the V8 within my hands, shifting healing to keeping the power band. I'm respecting the classy Aston Martin. After I'm touring V8 machine, I must go back. Driving Aston Martin, tires up to 75, 35s, 60 manual and no water drive. Interior Connolly high. How many cattle have died for distant elements? see Aston Martin. As we're touring the machine, I must go back.
In fact, I'm so excited. I want to create a metal band called something like The Pistons or something. And every song, instead of singing about the devil or destruction or death, I just want to sing about fast cars. Is that cool? So look out for The Pistons on tour soon. Maybe the Crankshafts. We'll figure it out. Or Bore and Stroke. Bore and Stroke could be the next band.